Up. FT After Hours is live. I'm going to publish it. It should go out. That's published. Here we
Hey, there we go.
Hey, we're up.
Yeah.
All right. We're live. Here we go. Ooh.
Oh, we're overmodulated on this end.
Should we turn it down a little more? Is it okay?
Hold on here, let me listen. Can you bring the master down safely without affecting the main recording?
I don't know if this will work, but I'll turn this down a little bit. See if that's any better.
Can you bring the master down safely without affecting the main recording? You know what? It's livable.
Is it?
Yeah. We'll tweak this out afterwards.
I can, let me go in here and I'll turn it down just a hair more.
Alright.
Not a problem.
You know what? It's livable. Yeah. We'll tweak this out afterwards.
I can, let me go in here and I'll turn it down just a hair more.
Alright, so we gotta do the delay here. Hold on.
Okay.
Wow. Let's just hold on. I'm gonna mute that sound. Lock now, because it's a huge giant loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm opening my speakers now. Just hold on. I'm gonna mute that sound. Lock now, because it's a huge giant loop. That's not bad.
Okay, good. All right, finally.
My speakers now. There's only 2 people watching anyhow, so it's just us.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Well, hey.
Yep. We're good.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us here. FT After Hours, the first podcast of the new year, 2016. And this is a test. We are live for the first time for the new year on YouTube. So come hang out with us. Again, we're probably going to do this more often once we get the kinks worked out of it a little bit. I think it's going to be a better option for everybody. We can chat with you a little bit better. It stays on YouTube, so if you want to go back and watch it later, I just think all around it's going to be a little bit better. Also, I think the video quality is going to be a little bit better. So everyone out there, go check out the FT After Hours YouTube page. Please subscribe to us because we're definitely going to be doing this a lot more and maybe some video stuff in the future. So again, thank you. Welcome. Thanks for listening, hanging out with us for the new year. I got a special guest in with me, my good friend Pat. Pat, how you doing?
Loving life.
Loving life. Did you have good Christmas, New Year's? Everything was good?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I heard you might have got something pretty cool for...
Did.
Yeah?
Did. The wife got me the big Radian.
Oh, no kidding.
So, yeah.
And the new one?
Nice.
Yes. Oh, no kidding. So have you pulled it out of the box?
I did.
Yeah?
I did, and I cut the box off so I can fit it right in the trunk of the car.
Oh, no kidding.
Because I think it had a little slot ready for, like, a transmitter, it looked like. So I cut that part of the cardboard out and put the tail on.
Yeah.
Put the wings in real quick, but didn't screw those in. Obviously, that thing's a monster. So.
A quick question. Obviously the old Radian, they're just, they fit tight and you put it together and go. And obviously the new one has the screws. But is it still kind of like the old way where if you put them in, do you have to screw them down?
It seemed like it, yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
They felt pretty loose?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
I didn't think they would stay even for me to kind of look at it. So,
really?
Yeah.
Wow. So it must be kind of a whole new, maybe different design than some sort.
I wonder. Yeah.
I'm interested to check that out. We'll have to get them side by side and
Right.
compare them a little bit. Awesome. So just so everybody knows, we've met you actually at Flight Fest. You and your buddy Scott.
Yep.
Who we asked him to come in and join us too, but he was out of town again.
He's the busiest guy.
Man, I'm telling you, we've been trying to get you guys in here for quite a while because we've flown together a few times and had a good time and trying to get you in here and talk about it, but it's just tough. So finally I was like, well, Pat, if you want to come on in, you know. So thanks for coming down, hanging out.
I appreciate the invite.
Sure. So, Andre, how are you doing up there in the Great White North? I see you got some snow up there.
So we had a nice green Christmas, and then Mother Nature made up for it in vengeance. I think we got 30 centimeters in one day, so that's a foot of snow. It was obscene.
Oh my gosh.
So what I need to do is I need to put the camera on the Radiant and do the follow-up, because I flew Boxing Day with the Radiant, and I had the Mobius on the wing, which was just, it overweighted the plane as far as I was concerned. So I'm going to go back to the wing cam, but then I'll do it before and after kind of footage, because it was night and day as far as, the landscape went. So skis are on everything now.
Awesome. I was a little disappointed in you, though. I thought maybe you would at least get out there in the ice and snow pellets, and make a go of it.
It wasn't me. It was the road conditions. The first day out, James had a sleepover, and he was watching. He says, "The car's going straight, Dad, but I can see your hands are moving." And the car was a handful. A lot of the roads were like a lane and a half wide, so it was a bit of country road driving, and you're really cautious when you were doing oncoming traffic, so you didn't get sucked into a snowbank or something like that. So it was pretty crazy for the first day.
We've had pretty unusual winter here. I mean, we haven't even had really no snow or anything yet, and but the cold. It's been fairly cold here the last few days, and part of me a little bit's like, come on, just bring on some snow. Let's get it going. I got the skis on a couple of planes already, and let's go. But I went and let the dogs out this morning, and it's 20 some degree, low 20s or whatever, and I was like, man, I don't know, maybe I'm not ready for this.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it the way it is, but it's been so windy here. Have you noticed that lately? I mean,
yeah, it's been extremely windy, I know.
Yeah, last weekend we had all the rain and wind, so I didn't get out whatsoever. And then I thought, well, maybe this weekend, which we had a little sunshine yesterday, and then I think we're going to get some today, but we're gusting, I think, up around 20-mile-an-hour winds. Even early this morning when I walked outside, everything was blowing around. I'm like, you're killing me here. You're really killing me, just to get out a little bit.
Yeah, I thought Wednesday was going to be a chance, because I checked that, let's see, aviationsports.net.
Oh, yeah.
I think they do that 3 days. So like Wednesday was going to be maybe 5, and then a couple days later it was back up to 10 at minimum, and then up from there.
Right. So you have anything you fly indoors?
I don't.
No Nano QX or anything? Oh, man, you got to get something.
No, my son's got the Inductrix, so.
Oh, okay, that's nice. How do you
play
like
around with that?
Yeah?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I've
the battery shifts, I noticed, like every time it crashes, you just got to push.
Oh, yeah.
Push the battery back, then that balance gets way off.
Right, yeah.
I had to explain that to him, because then he kept trying to trim it every time. And that's a losing battle. So.
Right. Yeah. I've been thinking about maybe getting some different motors from Micro Motor Warehouse, and I have a spare camera, the little nano camera from Horizon. Putting it on there and maybe try FPV with that a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if stock-wise if it's got quite enough power, to do that like the FPV Nano. But I don't know. I might try
it.
Maybe. It might. I just like it because it's so quiet and it's so smooth, and
it is.
Yeah. I was really shocked. So,
well, it's not like the Nano QX is a noisy beast, is it?
No, I mean it's not really bad, but it's just them little ducted fans. It sounds different, and it's really quiet. You'd be surprised at the difference between the two, actually.
Yeah, because I've got one of the things that ended up under the tree for me this year was the Airhog. The Millennium Falcon, and that is noisy.
Yes, it is noisy. I remember when I was flying it down here at Flight Test. It is very noisy. Yeah, but man, that thing is cool. It looks so good when it's just cruising around.
Yeah. I was having some fun with that, but I've really started enjoying that Nano QX finally. So that to me has been perfect for exactly those days where I can't get out and I just want to blast off a couple cells and just have a good time.
Yeah, so we've been talking about that, Andre, for what, over a year? So finally, you get one. Now, were we right? I mean, of everything we explained and told you, and the fun factor and everything.
The funniest part of the whole thing was, as soon as I got it, James was like, "Well, I want your Fat Shark goggles so I can watch while I'm flying." I'm like, well, "Wait a minute, no." Those are mine. So actually I set up the Quantum goggles with a little receiver, and the other day, I'd been blasting through, and he was going, yeah, I got my new game system. I'm not paying attention. I said, no, sit down, put these guys on, and watch what this thing could do. And we're blasting, and he is laughing, just belly giggling as the stuff as I'm going around. Oh, that was a wall. Oh, there's a mirror, And then what did I discover? I got into a dark corner, and completely, it's got that low iris issue, right? And I was like, I can't see anything. I'm just hovering in a room, but I don't know where I am anymore.
So if you found yourself, here's what I did. I got it, and I just wanted to zoom all around the house. I was trying to go in every other room, in the bathroom, in the boys' room, go all over the house. So then you get accustomed to that, and that gets a little boring. So then you start finding yourself trying to find these little tiny spots, like, okay, I'm going to fly under the table, through the chair, under the coffee table, up over. You're trying to see where you can squeeze that thing in at.
Where can I go? And very quickly I discovered it's like, I was running this one route, and I'm like, no, let's go counterclockwise kind of thing. Let's go the other way. And I almost dumped it into the kitchen sink one day with soapy water in it. I'm like, it kind of dropped on me, and I'm like, and then I had to set my timer up so I knew when I was getting close, because when it does drop after the 3 or 3.5 minutes, you're like, oh, okay, we're landing.
Yeah, and that's the only downfall with that thing is you just really start to get into it, and boom, you hit that. And the bad thing is I even know I have the timer set on my transmitter. I think it's even set to like 310 or something, but once in a while, if you're flying really hard, right around the 3-minute mark, you're done. And there's no warning with it. There's not like it beeps or, I know, well, it does flash, but it flashes at the same time the battery dies, so it really doesn't do you no good. So you just be cranking around, my radio screaming at me, land. Yeah, I'm going to keep on going. When it's done, it's done. Kind of like you have the Ultra Micro Radian. Mm-hmm. Same kind of thing. When it gets to the end, there's that's it.
Yeah, there's not much juice there.
No. So, and that 3 minutes just comes up so quick. Yeah. And I'm sure you're finding that out too, Andre.
Yeah, so I think I'm up to like 15 or more 1S packs, and I'm like, I got a gift certificate for the local hobby store. I might just go get some of those, and really nice. Actually, the E-Flight packs that come with it, the 45C 1Ss are pretty nice, and they're nice and slim compared to the Nanotechs. But I just got a whole handful of Nanotechs last time I put a battery in.
Yeah, and I did notice a difference with before they had the 150s. I can't remember if they were like 20Cs or whatever, and when they stepped up the 150s to the 45Cs, that did make quite a bit of difference on overall length of how long that thing would fly. So I'm kind of curious to see, and I hope they would fit, but I really want to try some of the 200 nano Turnigy one cells that they have, and I think I think they're a 45C or a 50C or something, so I'd be interested to try some of those and see what kind of times we get out of them.
Yes. I'll probably do an order in the spring, because I know I want to get some for the battery packs, for the some extra battery packs for the bigger planes, but they're all kind of tucked away for the winter now.
Okay, let's move on a little bit. I do and I don't want to talk about this a little bit, but it's such a big thing here in the States and it's been bothering a lot of people. It's been on my mind for a long time. I just want to talk a little bit more about the FAA debacle, really is what I call it, because it is just a complete debacle. But first of all, Pat, you and Scott, how long has it been? A little over a year or so? Okay, so
like last summer.
Yeah, so you're fairly new into this, and you're just getting into it, and you're really starting to enjoy it. So now that this has come out, which I'm sure you guys have talked about this.
Right.
What's your thoughts? I mean, initially with all this, is it kind of deterring you, or are you kind of like, I don't really care, I'm going to continue?
Yeah, it's not deterring either of us, I don't think. I would say at first I really didn't think it was a big deal at all, and then knowing that you can search based on that number, and it's a little more open database than I think we were led to believe to begin with, that's a little bit, it's certainly making me wait to register.
Right.
Per like what the AMA said, but I really have no plans of not flying or not going the places that we've been. I mean, maybe around people, a little more apprehensive, but it's not like we're looking for crowds anyway. So
Yeah, my question to you was, because again, we like Wayne and Mike and of course Andre and stuff. We've talked in depth a lot about this, and plus a lot of the stuff we're already kind of seeing showing up on Facebook of things that are going on. I mean, do you think? I've mentioned it before, like where we fly a lot there in Jackson. It's a huge parks behind a high school, and there is generally a lot of people around. A lot, like, in the summer there's a lot of baseball games and stuff. But obviously we're not flying over the games, or a lot of times we're there early in the morning. There's people walking their dogs or anything. But in the 8, 9, 10 years or whatever we've been over there, we've never, except for a couple small things, we've never had any problems whatsoever. Matter of fact, a lot of times the police come over. Jackson, they've hung out, they've talked to us, they've watched us. And matter of fact, when Mike put the plane in the tree over there, it was dusk, and one of the officers was watching him fly it because it was at dusk and it was all lit up, and he thought that was great. Well, he was over there watching. He seen the plane go, and then it just disappeared. And he was like, "Wow, that was kind of weird." He actually got out of his car and came over and was offered whatever he could do to help us, to get it out of the tree. He's like, "Man, I was having so much fun. I was enjoying watching it, and then it disappeared. I wondered what happened." So the guys have, so far, have been really cool. I don't know them on a name basis or anything, but I'm just wondering, with the media hype, this being out there now, and is it going to be a problem for us? Are these walkers going to say, I don't really like this? Before, there really wasn't much they could do. Now, you get some people out there that may not like it, or they have the fear, if I got my Phantom out and we're doing a little filming, or I'm following you guys around and they see the so-called drone and go, "Whoa, what are they doing?" It just takes that one phone call to say, "Hey, these guys are out of control, or they're erratic, or they're spying on me, or something." Well, then guess what? Now the cops have to kind of show up and do a little investigating. So that's kind of my fear of flying over there. Have you thought about that at all, or do you think that's going to happen?
I hope not. I mean, I think there's potential for it, but I think based on the goodwill that you build up, and they watched us over at other parks too. They just kind of sit there at lunch, and a few times we've gone over there and fly. Like they've not come over or anything. They just kind of watch us go. I would hope that goodwill of seeing that we're not idiots or kids trying to do something, stupid or
right. It brings me just to another. I mean, my mind just I guess I look at all the worst possibilities. The other thing I was thinking the other day is, if you're out and you're flying a 3D plane. And of course, we know what a 3D plane does and how it flies and everything, but you get some people that have no clue what's going on, walk by and see this plane doing these crazy things, and the engine's just, and this thing's, I could see him making another phone call. "Hey, this guy's over here, and he's completely out of control, and I'm fearing for my life." One of those ordeals now that, people are more aware, and they're supposed to be, because here's the thing, the FAA already put out the statement and sent the memo out to the local law enforcements that they're supposed to be trying to patrol this or keep an eye on this and everything. So now it's on their radar. Andre, we talked a little bit about that story a guy had on Facebook where, luckily, he was already registered. Everything was legal. He had his number on. He was flying at like a dead-end street at a housing development or something, not doing anything whatsoever illegal. And somebody called 911.
Yeah.
And the officer come over. He checked his stuff out. And he was really cool. I mean, they talked. There was no problems whatsoever. And he says, "Well, hey, I'm just letting you know somebody called us, to come over." That's my biggest fear, is that I think everywhere we try to go, I could be wrong, and I hope I am, that we're going to run into problems now because people are like, "Oh, is he legal? Is he, what's he doing?"
And what a waste of, taxpayers' money, as far as, if every single police officer has to respond, there's a cost behind that.
Yeah.
There is a municipal or a county-wide, whatever, cost associated to dispatching an officer to check out, this guy's flying an airplane, not doing anything wrong, or if he is doing anything wrong, well then fine. But if he's not doing anything wrong, you're wasting manpower hours and everything.
Yeah.
So it is a little, from an outsider's looking in kind of thing, it is a little mind-boggling.
It is, and I'm hoping, my thought is, I'm hoping, say even from a year from here now, maybe possibly 2 years from now, when it's kind of like anything else, something new comes out, the media gets a hold of it, it's this huge hype, everybody's watching it. Well, a year from now, maybe this will just kind of go away. People aren't going to pay attention to it. They don't really care, because obviously they realize that these drones aren't falling out of the air and trying to kill people and everything, and we'll go back to our basic business. I don't agree with the registration process, obviously, but if nothing happens and February 19th rolls around, I'll make my decision then. But I'll have to be honest with you, Mike and Wayne, we had a long, in-depth conversation about it, and come February 19th, we'll see how things go, or if anything changes. I don't know. We've talked about getting out of it. I mean, not that I want to, because again, I love this hobby. It's so much fun. I've met so many great people, and our thing is we do this because we love it and it's very enjoyable. But if it gets to that point where we just can't go out and fly or go here or go there like we used to do and enjoy it, or without having problems, to me, and those two agreed with me that it's not going to be fun anymore. Maybe have a few small things fly around the house or something like that. So I don't know, man. Right now I'm on the fence.
I hope not.
Yeah, that could change in a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
That's not 100%, but right now, thinking about it and where it's going, what could possibly happen down the road, we'll see what happens. Obviously, most everybody knows too, they just had the FAA put the 30-mile circle around the Ronald Reagan Airport, DCA, and they shut down, I think, over 30 RC fields in that area. I mean, shut them down. So technically, if you're within that 30-mile circle there, if you're in there, there is no flying whatsoever. Nothing. So that put a big hurt. Now, I read a couple things where they're saying, it's just temporary. The AMA was saying maybe around mid-January or something that may open back up, but I also heard some reports that that's never going to change. That's a security thing. They don't want it to change, and that 30-mile circle is going to stay.
Oh, that's crazy.
So,
like 30 miles out.
That's a long ways.
Right.
So who's to say that this doesn't do this around all major airports? Not just there, but say like LAX, or then it might go to Orlando or whatever. That could happen down the road. This could be a trial thing. Hey, let's see how this works and this is going to do, and so it may be down to the point where we might have to drive out or find somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, to fly a foam airplane.
Yeah,
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. I'll talk a little bit about my little debacle I had. Kind of frustrated me a little bit. Where I live, all my neighbors know me. I mean, I've been tinkering around and doing the crazy stuff, the last 8 or 9 years. So most of my neighbors know, if they see a quad going up and down the road or over their house or whatever, they're like, it's just Chris again. It's no big deal. But again, with the media stuff and things out there and the drones and stuff, actually it was Wednesday before Christmas. And I'm always looking to try to use the Phantom to get my money out of the stupid thing, and plus I like to fly it. So I had it out in the yard, and it was dusk. And my wife wanted to do a little Christmas greeting thing, where we just kind of film in front of the house, and then I back it out and raise it up, and you see them, dropping back, and the lights in the neighborhood, and just something fun and simple, no big deal. So I had it out and did a couple little test runs before I drug the family outside, and of course the Phantom, I've mentioned it before, it's loud. You heard it fly. It's very loud. It's noisy. Not like you're going to be spying.
No.
And it's got a lot of lights on it. It lights up like a Christmas tree at night. So I was doing a couple test runs, and one of my neighbors down the road come down in their car and seen me and stopped. And she said, "Is that one of those illegal drones?" And I go, "Nope." Yeah, I tried to be as nice as I could. I definitely don't want to make no waves in my neighborhood. And I was like, "No, it's just a nice little copter with a camera on it." And she goes, "Well, what are you doing with it?" I said, "I'm just making a nice family Christmas video. And, if you'd like me to send it to you when I'm done, I'd be more than happy." that was the extent of it. But I was like, here we go, and I told the story with my mom. I've sent her some stuff when we first got the Phantom and stuff, and she goes, "Oh, you have one of those drones, that you can spy on people with." And I was like, "Mom, you know what I mean?"
Right.
It's just the fear mongering that's out there. The people that aren't in the know, they just don't get understand it or anything.
Yeah, it's
So-
too bad.
So that kind of led me to the day after Christmas. A good friend of mine bought, and I'll talk a little bit maybe more about it here later, purchased the Quantum Nova from Hobby King. And he called and talked to me, and they had it on sale. It's like a $300, quad. You can put your GoPro and stuff on, and they had it on sale in I think the East office for $160 or something. So I'm like, for that price, go ahead and try it. Then if you got, I'll help you set it up or whatever. So he come down the day after Christmas, and we set it all up and everything, and we were out, and it was windy the day after Christmas too. So we set it all up. We were cranking around the yard a little bit, and we were going through all the settings. I was explaining everything to him, but the weird thing was, even after what happened the day before, even flying around there, I felt like almost like a criminal. Like everybody was watching me. What's he doing? Is he doing something? And I, even at that point, I was like, I'm not having any fun here. You know what I mean? I'm in my own yard. I'm not hurting anybody. We were below the treetop levels, but I just almost felt like I was doing something illegal, and everybody was watching me. It was weird. And I guess my point is I'm very curious to know if there are people out there that are kind of having the same feelings that I'm thinking, that Wayne and Mike, we all kind of thinking the same thing here. If that's bothering anybody else, but you're not quite there yet.
No, but I'm not. Inductrix is about our only drone in the household, so
Right.
that's almost impossible to do any damage with.
Yeah.
But, I can definitely see your point. If you think the neighbors are looking at you, then all of a sudden,
And
something that used to be fun is now.
Right. And what's going to happen to maybe even some of these newer people that have been flying at the same place for the last year, maybe 2 years or whatever, and now say they do run into a problem. Are they going to be like, what, this is crazy? I'm flying a foam airplane, and people are calling. I'm not saying it's going to happen everywhere, but I know it's going to happen because we've already been reading a little bit about it. Is it going to be determined like, hey, this isn't worth it? You know what I mean? And
the media coverage is going to be
right.
Well, eventually the media will get bored and cycle out, but for now it's firming their targets. Probably still see a lot of coverage for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's my thoughts. That's where I've been thinking here lately. But again, it just sitting back, reading as much as I can, so hoping something may change by February 19th. I don't know that it will. I'm hoping, and we'll go from there and see what happens. Again, I really don't want to register, but at that point, I don't think we're going to have a choice.
right.
That's it.
Exactly. It's not like I want to, jump out there and go on the site, but
Right.
especially for something like Flight Fest, I really would not.
Yes, exactly.
Walk out there without a registration.
Right.
And then-
The interesting thing is, too, Andre, have you heard any rumblings or anything up there around Canada? Has the news been doing anything about this? Or
There have been a few odd incidents, and that's gonna. Everybody was expecting after Christmas there were going to be a few odd ones. There were people fired their brand new toys up and did something silly like fly into other people's houses and so on. The MAC, which is the Canadian version of AMA, put out a notice pretty well the same day the FAA rulings came out, and they said, we recommend everybody put in their name, their phone number, and their MAC number inside their airplanes for identification to show to Transport Canada that we're being proactive in, identifying ourselves and so on and following the rules. So.
the reason I was bringing it up, I don't know if you've heard, Andre, I'm sure you've read about, Pat, I'm sure, is actually Russia kind of just followed suit.
Oh.
And they put in Putin signed the bill. It's done. They basically did exactly what we did. You have to register any kind of UAS, and they went right with the same weight limit of 250 grams. So now you have another huge country like that and I was kind of shocked to hear that. But the scary thing is now you got two pretty large countries that have, done the same thing. How many are going to follow suit now? Or at least look into it a little bit heavier, like, hey, maybe this is the direction we need to go. I don't know.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't want to register over in Russia.
That's
going on. I think I would just get out of the hobby at that point.
Yeah. So I just thought, man, that was crazy. This out of the blue, all of a sudden, boom, Putin signs a bill, and boom, they're doing the exact same thing. So,
and
go ahead.
And I wonder, we haven't seen any reactions from the manufacturers yet, which is the surprising part. You would think that they would be a little bit more proactive in communicating and talking about their visions for the future. Like I said, when we were chatting offline, I predict if this is the case and the 250 gram thing is kind of the go-to number, that UMX Plus class, as we were saying in our offline discussion, that's going to explode. You're going to see a lot of airplanes that are just going to, or even quads will be a little harder with the extra motors and everything. But I think you're going to see a lot of smaller foamies suddenly appear on the market.
Yeah, and maybe they're kind of like the rest of us. Maybe they're just kind of sitting back here for a little while and kind of waiting around till February, and see what's exactly going to happen. Or is this set in stone now? Is this going to happen? Or maybe, who knows? Maybe Congress will step in and go, you know what? I don't, I doubt it, but so that's my guess. Hey, got some chat going on here. I'll have to try to read through those. Aaron Blake says, I recently joined a club to have a friendly place to fly. I get a lot of them. I'm breaking the law vibes flying at the parks now. See, that was my big thing. Another gentleman, Underbird, says, I won't fly at the park now either. Ryan Papp says, I've been lucky at my local park. Everyone has been cool and they're more interested than being negative, which we found in the past, you almost got to kill everybody with kindness. We have had a few people who are like, kind of give you the stink eye a little bit, but hey, come on over here, check this out. Would you like to fly? Hey, it's foam. A lot of people don't realize that when they come over and see the airplanes, that it's just foam. They almost think like it's this miniature sheet-built metal airplane with a death propeller at the end of it. So when they come out and actually see it and touch it and feel it, a lot of times I'll pick it up and let them hold it, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so light, and it's all foam, and it looks great, and I'm like, yeah, you want to fly it? And they're like, oh, of course, no, oh yeah, come on, just kind of half joking around, but I've definitely turned quite a few people around that way, just try to bring them into it a little bit. And I've told the story 100 times, but it just, even to this day, makes me laugh when we ran into the baseball parents that were upset when we were flying because the kids were watching the planes and the dad's coming over and they're screaming and yelling at us, and got heated there for a little while. But the craziest thing was when it was done and over with and he's walking away and he turns around and looks at me and goes, well, I have to admit it is pretty cool though. So, all right, enough of that. I guess we'll get off of that. I just had to get that off my chest a little bit. It's been bothering me. I've been just talking about it with everybody for a little while. But I'm glad you guys are like, at least you and Pat or Scott are, hey, I'm not deterred by it. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And obviously we're not doing anything illegal.
Until we get the shakedown, I think. Like, if we have some bad experiences, the police kind of...
I do think, and I'm always scoping around anywhere, but I know you live pretty close to me. I do think I'm on the search to try to find somewhere a little bit more secluded to fly, a little less people. I mean, Jackson Park is great. I mean, it's just wide open, lots of space. It is a great place to fly, but I'm kind of just to get away a little bit and see if we can find a place.
Yeah, there's a constant flow of people from the Y that's over there.
Yeah.
There's never not.
You know what the crazy thing was is when we first started flying, we used to fly across the road inside the park there at Jackson Park, and we flew right behind the library.
Wow.
And there was people everywhere
Yes.
over there. And, you know, we were just starting out, so you don't really know. And you're thinking, it's just a foam airplane. I mean, we used to come over, what is that, Fulton Road, and come over to the library and do touch and goes right there in the parking lot. And the people playing tennis are watching us. And, you know, we're dodging kids on bicycles. And then we used to go right across there, and there's a couple big soccer fields there. And I used to fly a lot over, especially when I first got my Trojan, the T-28. But looking back, you know, here's the crazy thing. When you first get into it, you're probably going to crash or anything, but you don't think of the consequences. And then after you start flying a little and you have a few of these kind of near misses, or you think, ooh, that was bad. That could have been really bad, you know, get you thinking a little bit. We've had a few crashes that were, I'm going to say, pretty close to some people. You know, not that it really would have hurt them or anything, but, you know, you just look like my other buddy, Pat, we just kind of look at each other going, I don't know about that. That was a little close, you know. So it just, you have them experiences where, you know, you live and learn a little bit.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because I know early on last summer, I think there was a soccer practice or something, and Scott and I were flying. Now I just wouldn't even think about doing that, especially after like that FW190 when I buried that in the ground. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, that was again, nobody got hurt or anything, but the after effects afterwards, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was, and they weren't really even around us.
No.
You know, they were clear in the back, and we weren't even gonna fly over there. You know what I mean? Just
that was not the plan.
Yeah, not at all. You know, and again, it was just one of the incidents where I don't know, maybe we should have talked to him a little bit. I was on the fence of where maybe we should just let it go, let it slide. Nobody really said anything, or should we go over and talk?
That guy was angry.
Yeah, he was not happy.
Was he mad?
Yeah. So, but you know, I didn't hear any repercussions of that or anything. So it was okay. All right, enough of that. I'll get off my step here a little bit. Hey, let's just talk about a couple funny things. Some of this is kind of old news. I mean, man, it feels like I haven't been in the studio for a while, plus we were talking about other things. But I think one of the funniest things I seen, I don't know if you guys seen it, Andre, or anybody listening to online, there was a video floating around. I think it was on Facebook. It's called Helicopter Pilot Retrieves RC Plane from the Tree.
Yeah.
Did you guys see this?
No.
Oh,
This
this
was
is
awesome.
fantastic. It's got some language in it. Whatever, it is what it is. But it was him and this guy flying probably, I think, a little Robinson helicopter, and they're cruising around. And they're like, hey, look, they're flying an RC plane, and they were kind of, talking about it and watching him. And he goes, oh crap, he just landed in the tree. He goes, all right, I got the controls. We're going to go check this out. And this guy in the helicopter literally just whips this thing around. He's chasing over there by the tree, and you see it go down, like the helicopter kind of squat down, and you're like, wow, man, this guy's a good pilot, you know. Pretty soon, you see the RC plane come into sight. He takes his helicopter, drops it right down into the tree. His buddy reaches right out the door, grabs the plane. They take it down in the field, drop it down, give it back to the kid. It was just amazing, you know, that the guy, and I guess the guy, you know, he flies RC. So he knew, you know, when the kid got it in the tree, he's like, oh man, I know exactly what that's like and how that feels, and I'm going to get this airplane out. Fantastic video. It's Helicopter Pilot Retrieves RC Plane from a Tree. Yeah. So we'll probably put that in the links. It was great.
I need to check that out.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
The other thing too, and you probably won't get this too much, but it was all over. I seen it on Twitter. I think it was on Facebook. It might have been the day after Christmas or the day of Christmas, but there was a big post about a firefighter, or actually a company who, a young girl got her quadcopter she got for Christmas, and from what I understand, she's very inspired of flying and everything and wants to become like a pilot. Got stuck in a tree, and they happened to call the fire department, just I guess probably to see if there's anything they could do, and they said, yeah, we'll come out and get it. So they actually drove the ladder truck out, went up into the tree, and got it back for the girl, and she was so excited. And a big story like that, that's something normally doesn't happen.
Right.
So it was pretty cool to see that on the news, and that it wasn't a news story of somebody spying on their window or something like that. It was actually something good.
Positive story.
Positive story about a quad or a drone, that they got it out of the tree. So that was pretty cool. Oh, one thing I did forget. Did you guys see the massive crash of it was probably a Hex or an octocopter that was following a skier?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And my wife showed me that.
Wow. That was a pretty close incident, and of course, since then they've outlawed any kind of copters, flying there. Here's my point. Maybe I'm off base. I'll see what you guys agree. But on a lot of stuff like that back in the day, and also these, a lot of the TV shows used real helicopters with a guy hanging out on the door with a camera, following skiers or chasing them down a hill. And there's also been a lot of incidents, and you can go online and search it. I want to say, I can't remember. I want to say the Discovery Channel was one company that that quit using helicopters. They had a couple incidents. I think they even had a couple crashes that said, you know what, we're done. This isn't worth it. The insurance and all the problems, and people could have got killed. I don't know. I can't remember if actually people got killed or hurt or whatever. But at the point they said no more. And then when the camera platform started rolling around a little bit. I might have maybe had this discussion with Eric Monroe, and maybe he might have been the one telling me about this. They kind of brought it back a little bit, like with Treehouse Masters. They were using just the small quadcopters to get the shots up around the trees and everything, to where they wouldn't have that, if it wasn't for the Phantoms or whatever, because they got out of the helicopter stuff. So I guess my point is, in general, wouldn't it be safer using these type of camera platforms, a small quad or hex or octocopter, than it would be flying a real helicopter following somebody down a hill?
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
They've had those cable cams. They've had cables snapped there. There was a NASCAR race a couple of years ago where one of the cars got hit by the camera because the cable let go as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I guess that's my point, is no matter what you have, real helicopter, a cable cam, something, there's always that Murphy's Law. There's always that possibility something could happen, regardless.
Yeah. What I want to know was that camera, that quad chasing the skier, obviously, it looked pretty high-end. It was probably part of the show. But when I looked at the footage, it was a vertical drop.
Yeah.
So it was kind of curious as did he clip something, or did he, and that was an octocopter, so he had redundancy in motors. So for it to vertically drop must have been a power failure, or he hit something.
Yeah, I mean, not to say he didn't hit something. I don't know if I actually read a report or heard anything about it, but I would think if he was following the skier, he's in a pretty open area, I would think, And again, you can't tell by the video, but looking at it, it looked like it was pretty well intact. I did see some motors kind of spinning, and it very easily could have been some kind of, controller issue or something, obviously, that had it go in that hard like that. Luckily, it did miss the skier.
Yeah,
that was the video was kind of from
the
downhill perspective, which makes it look like it was right behind him.
Well, that was the other question. Yeah, how close in reality was he? But still, and it most likely was a professional job, but to have a failure of that magnitude, I guess, if you wish, was big.
Because it just fell out of the sky.
It did. And disintegrated. That thing hit hard. But if you look at Peter's got the S1000 or something sitting over there, and if you actually go over and look how big that thing really is and how heavy it's massive, So, and I think that one might have even been bigger, the one that crashed. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I still think that in general it's better to use something like that.
I think so.
We'll see what happens. But they're done. No more for the skiers, And I've also read a lot too. A lot of these ski places, like out west and stuff, they're outlawing any kind of drones, in their ski area whatsoever. They're not even allowed to bring them on the property. So I don't know. It's crazy how things have changed here in the last year, 6 months. Oh man. All right, enough of that. I'll get back on. Let's get to some fun stuff, some flying. Hey, one thing I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if it's me. I have a few things. I have the AS3X on it, and I've never really noticed. I've done different things with them, different mixes or whatever. But I recently bought my own Ultra Micro Sport Cub S. Matter of fact, just like the one sitting on the table. Love that little airplane. We flew it a lot last year and did some testing with it, and it was a lot of fun. So I finally broke down and had them on sale down at the Horizon Indoor for like $70. I'm like, I can't pass this up. I'm buying one. Plus, it's, if you're in a smaller area or there's no wind, they make a great trainer. It's got the 3 modes. You can do beginner, intermediate, and expert mode. So, it's fun, and you can do a lot with it. So I picked one up and was setting it up and cranking around my yard. And I don't know, and maybe somebody out there could tell me, or if we have Matt Andron on here, hopefully soon, he can maybe explain a little bit more. Now, I have flown just the regular planes with just the AS3X, have put mixes into them, and have had no problems. They fly pretty much as normal. Now, with the Sport Cub, with the safe system on it, I was dialing in all kinds of, because I'm lazy, I guess you could say. Plus, I got a nice DX9, so why not throw some mixes in there and make it as easy? Because all I want to do is just cruise around the yard, just make it as easy as possible. So, I got throttle to elevator mixing and aileron to elevator mixing, and I got just all kinds of mixes in here. So I was in my yard trying to dial this thing in, and the more I tried to dial it in, the worse this thing got. I mean, I'm like, what is wrong with this thing? And the crazy thing is I'd throw it right in the beginner mode, and it would just smooth out and just perfect, like idiot-proof, basically. And I was like, what? Flip it back to expert mode with all my mixes and everything, trying to make it, I guess, fly better for me, to make myself more lazy. It was terrible. So I'm like, this is crazy. I'm trying to go up, trying to go down, trying to do different things, and it just either got way worse or it was still bad no matter what I did. So finally I said, you know what, screw it. I'm taking all the mixes out. Took everything back off of it, went to beginner mode, cruised around, make sure everything was good, went back to expert mode with no mixes. Thing flew beautiful. So I don't know if with the AS3X and the safe, that it was trying to just compensate so much with what mixes I had to try to fix what I was trying to change, just made it all out of whack. I don't know. I've never experienced that before.
Yeah, that's crazy. I would almost think it would fight more on the other way. Like in the safe mode would be more, but you didn't have those set up.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
like
in just the regular beginner mode,
yeah.
Where it limits your bank and everything on it, and it flies fantastic. And the one I flew before, and I guess I must not have had any mixes on that one either. And when you go right to expert mode, it flew exactly the same, except you didn't have no limitations on it. Excuse me. So that's what was baffling, I'm trying to put these mixes in there to even make myself more lazy. It just kept getting worse and worse. And the second I took them off, it was perfect. I mean, you couldn't tell the difference between expert and beginner, except obviously with your being unlimited. So that was kind of a lesson learned that I took a few notes on that and made a reminder. And
when you were doing your mixes, were you throwing in any expo?
No, not with that plane. I had no expo in it whatsoever.
Okay.
Just
wondering, because I know with AS3X, like in the Pawnee, they basically say you're just doing weight throws, and the plane, the AS3X deals with the expo.
Gotcha. So yeah, here lately, especially with the Horizon stuff, like you said, with the AS3X and stuff, I haven't hardly put any expo in them at all. Just flying them, out of the box. Haven't had any problems with them. Now, do you have anything with the AS3X?
I do.
What do you?
I got the F4.
Oh, that's right. Cause yeah. Now, do you have any mixes or?
I just have some expo.
Just expo
in there because it's a little bit twitchy. I found, especially with the elevator, and it used to do some weird self-correcting. But I've not had that happen in a while. So I'm not sure what that was. I did have some damage on it, so I don't know if maybe that's causing some weird.
Yeah, we're going to
drag or something like that.
We're going to talk about that here in a minute because I want to get into that. So anyway, that was my experience with the little Sport S with the mixes and stuff. So I'll be interested in the future. We get something else like that to see if we could even test that with your Corsair. Maybe not.
Sure.
Maybe not. That's a little more expensive.
Well, that J3 Cub looks very tempting.
I'm telling you, Andre, like for just cruising around the yard like that, it is so much. It flies at least at a walking pace or slower. I can get that thing to slow down that much. And like get it a foot off the ground and just in between the trees, very gentle, and oh man, it's just so much fun. Touch and goes off the driveway. It's got that big under cambered wing, and it just really slows down, which kind of brings me. I've got my eye on it, and then we'll have to wait and see. You've probably seen the new J3, the Ultra Micro J3
Yes.
Cub. Oh,
Yep.
And it's brushless, runs on the 2-cell. I'm so curious to see how that thing's going to fly because it looks so good. I don't think it's going to slow down like the Sport Cub S does, but if it's remotely close to that, I would probably pick one up because I think that thing's going to look phenomenal in the air. It's funny. I've been on the forums and those guys, they really dive in and debate it. Well, it's a lot heavier than this plane, but it's got a longer wing and the chord's different, blah blah blah. And they get into the Reynolds numbers, and I'm like, just screw all that. We'll just wait till the plane gets out and we'll fly it and see. Because they go with all the specs. And I can already tell you, well, it's not going to be as slow as this plane, but it's going to be slower than this plane. And I'm like, just wait till it comes out. We'll see what it does. But I definitely have my eye on that.
Yeah, me too.
I got a ton of those little 2-cells, and it's brushless, which I'm excited about. So if that thing's remotely close to flying at a walking pace, I'm for sure picking one up. And my big thing is too, I still have the old the Champ, right? Mm-hmm. And I fly that every now and then, but for some weird reason, I love to fly that thing when it's snowing. We get a heavy snow outside, and there's no wind, and you get that yellow plane out there in the yard, it just looks great. But it's an old 3-channel airplane. Mm-hmm. So this Cub looks so much better, and it's got the brushless motor and more power. So what I'm thinking is making up some mini skis for it for the wintertime. So if I can just step out my door with that thing and just cruise around the yard, I can go right in, warm up a little bit, change batteries, go back out,
Yeah.
I'm excited for that thing. So we'll have to
because the problem with the 1S cells is after a while, they just don't work in the cold.
No, they don't. That's the only big problem with them. Like, you got to really keep them warm, throw it in there, fly it, and then even again, if you're flying something like the Champ and it's real cold and you're out there more than 3 or 4 minutes, then it's done. Then you got to get it in, warm it back up, and so that is the big pain with the 1-cells. I don't know if you've experienced that yet or not.
No, we haven't flown the Radian.
Yeah, they do not. The little 1-cells don't like the cold.
When it's too cold, but you did mention that.
Yeah, so that's why I'm really curious about this. The Cub, the yellow Cub. See how it flies on the 2-cells. So, all right, man, how long ago was it that we were out flying? It's been a few weeks already, or longer, hasn't it?
Yeah, it may have been like a month.
Oh my gosh, time flies.
Yeah.
So anyway, we finally had a great day. It was fairly warm, I think, that day, and no wind, because around here lately it's been so windy, but there was no wind. So I shot you guys a text and go like, hey, I'm going to go out if you guys want to come out. And it was last minute anyway, and you're like, that's perfect. We already decided we were going to
charge up the batteries.
Yeah.
We're going to text you too.
So we got out there and was cruising around and had a good time. So
that SE5 is
that's right.
So beautiful.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
That was probably been a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And Andre, you're gonna laugh too, and Pat could tell you. I pulled. Let's see. I had the Corsair, the Park Zone Corsair, and I brought out the SE5. And Andre, I'm not joking. These things had probably an inch of dust on top of them with cobwebs, and I pull them out of the car. These guys are looking at me like, holy cow, where did you just drag these out of the dust? I mean, they literally look like I'm trying to clean them off a little bit, So yeah, that was the first time you guys got to see the SE5 fly.
Great condition too.
Yeah, and it looks great in the air, doesn't it?
So you're teasing me now. I have an opportunity to get a used one, and I haven't reacted yet.
I'm telling you ought to go for the get that used Albatross, the Park Zone Albatross, because I think it looks a little bit better on it, and I think they fly the same, same characteristics. But so if I have the SE5 and you got the Albatross, we can dogfight, buddy. So yeah, that was a good time. We walked down to the baseball field.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, the baseball field was really muddy. Because generally I fly the Warbirds off there too, but we realized real quick with as muddy as it was, them things were going to either nose over on landings or get tore up, But the SE5, it's cool because I have the little it's a tail dragger, obviously. You can take the wheel off, put the little I don't know what you call it.
A little skid.
Yeah, like the skid on the
yeah.
back. So you see the little skid mark in the dirt, and we cruised that thing around for a little while. That was fun. And then of course Scott brought out the EFX Racer again.
Yep.
And cruise around on that thing. I don't know what it is about the plane. Every time I see him fly that, and I've flown it a couple times too, that thing just impresses me more and more and more and more. And but the crazy thing is he had the beautiful landing. I mean, it was picture perfect, beautiful glide, comes in, motor shut off, and we were all going, oh man, that landing was fantastic. And we had to walk a little ways because that thing glides forever, and walk over and he picks it up, and it's just, the nose was full of dirt and grass, and the prop was broke.
Yeah.
And I was just like so bummed out for him. I'm like, here you had this beautiful flight, everything went great, beautiful landing, and pick it up, and the prop's broke.
Yeah, the prop's so stubby, nobody even noticed it first.
Yeah.
I looked,
Yeah.
your prop's gone.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Oh,
It
that's too bad.
must have just hit like a clump or something, because, I mean, you couldn't have got a better landing. You really couldn't.
Yeah, I think there was a little dirt. Probably it hit.
Yeah. So, and then he brought out, the first time I got to see it, Andre, he has the FMS Speed P40.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm telling you, those planes, they have the P47 Razorback, and of course the P40. And again, we've talked a million times, Andre, that you don't see a lot of P40s out there.
Mm-hmm.
But that P40 looks really good. I think you'd be really impressed, And we didn't fly it that day. I know Scott was pretty nervous about shooting it up in the air.
He's nervous about that one. Yes.
Yeah. For one, it's fast.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it is a warbird. And he had some trim. He did fly it once. He was talking about he had some trim issues with it. So we pulled it out. We checked it all out, and everything, plugged it in. Everything looked good. Like everything lined up. The ailerons were all in the elevator and everything. But he said, when he did maiden it, he had some serious trim issues, and it, made him really nervous. And we almost had him talked into, taking it out and going. But we were like, let's just wait. It wasn't, it's one of them deals where if you're not feeling it, don't push it.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. But I think a lot of it too, with that much power and a force on everything, I think a lot of it was torque. Because he said it was going to the left and wanting to roll a lot. So I think initially it probably was torque. So we'll get him out there and hopefully get that. I want to see that thing fly. It looks really good.
Oh, it looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got that bigger tri-blade prop.
Yeah.
Compared to the Racer, much quieter.
Yeah, right.
But it definitely moves.
Yeah. Oh, so you got to see it on the
I
Maiden?
did.
Yeah.
I did get to see the Maiden, and I think because that one costs a lot more.
Yeah.
I think he's a little nervous about it.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Well, I haven't even flown my P40 yet for the same reason, but now it's definitely done till the spring, and they'll give me an opportunity to get some 4S packs behind it as well.
Yeah. So that was pretty interesting. So then it was kind of funny. I knew the last time we went out flying, you have actually the Hobby Zone Corsair, which is actually the old Park Zone Corsair that they redid and put the safe system on it. Now I watched you fly it before, and I was like, man, that thing looks so good in the air, flies so good. So I happened to bring my discontinued Park Zone Corsair out, with the retracts and the flaps and everything. So we put those up in the air together and did some formation flying again. That is so much fun.
Oh, those Corsairs cut such a nice profile.
Yeah, they look great in the air.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, and I was really shocked, mine's hopped up and everything else, and it's got a bigger motor and everything. Of course, it is a lot heavier and has all the bells and whistles, but the Hobby Zone one, it really, it's maybe top speed and everything, but overall, that thing, for what you're getting, looked as good in the air, kept up fine, and I didn't see, for what I have to what you have, I actually like the Hobby Zone one, I think, a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, you said that, and I mean, I'm of the same mind, just because for me to land that thing, obviously, is much easier. I can land any direction. I just hand toss it up, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty tough, obviously.
Yeah. Right.
Cracked it up a couple times. but-
Sure.
Yeah.
And
it moves.
that thing, I was really shocked, and plus having the safe system on, you don't have to work, if you want to try a little bit of inverted or something, with a warbird, who doesn't want to do a low inverted pass off the deck with a warbird, right? You got a little peace of mind where, like, if I'm a little nervous, I'm just pushing the button. I think it's one of, and Andre, we had that big conversation with Stuart a couple weeks ago about warbirds and everything, and I've said it lots of times, is how many people I've met just got into the hobby. Now, whether they're looking or they seen yours, usually the first thing they want is a warbird. If they see somebody else's flying, they're like, oh man, I'm flying this little, whatever, and this beautiful warbird goes by and you're just drooling and it looks so good in the air, and that's their next step. I want a warbird. Well, generally that doesn't work out too well, because you know what happens. They buy a warbird, throw it in the air, and it lasts about 30 seconds. So what we talked about, and I know we chatted a little bit about it, and we also talked to Stuart about it, is I want to bring they got to bring some belly landers back, because that Corsair, now don't get me wrong, that comes with some landing gear too. So it's detachable. You can put the gear on if you want to practice landings with it. Great. But
not retractables, which is fantastic.
Exactly.
You get the enhanced structure. You're not worried about breaking things.
Exactly. So, like, again, if one day you want to go out and you want to do nothing but touch and goes, well, regardless, even if you change it, you just pull the gear off. Throw the gear on, do some landings, touch and goes, practice them, and then you just want to go crank around, you pop the gear off and you go. But the nice thing we've talked about before is you can just go out. You don't have to worry about the runway. You don't really have to worry about the landing. You chuck it in the air. It's lighter. It really almost flies better. In the long run, they're cheaper. So I would love to see some of these companies bring back some belly landers, some nice looking, warbird belly landers. And like the Corsair is a great one to do because they can put the skids on that gull wing.
Yep.
The P-47 is fantastic because actually the Park Zone one comes with a belly skid. And again, that was one of the main reasons I bought that, because I didn't have to use the gear on. It's got retract and everything, but you have that option to just belly land it. So also like the Rare Bear, something like that, that's a belly lander. Bring some more of these back. Get these detailed warbirds out there and, make them some belly landers. I still love the looks of the Wildcat that's been discontinued for a while. That thing looks phenomenal in the air. Great flyer, and again, gone, discontinued. So I want to see some of that stuff come back a little bit.
Yeah, I was glad you brought that up with Stuart. I know too, and it was kind of, he's like, oh. No, it's a great point.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. Because that's generally one of the first things people into the hobby, they see the warbird, that's what they want. So bring back a warbird and Park Zone, I think, or Horizon, they got a huge hit on their hands with that, the new Hobby Zone F4F, because it's got the safe system on it.
Yes, and that price has not come down at all.
I know. So that's when you know they're doing. I was just going to say, I haven't really seen that thing on sale or anything. But I wanted to ask you, though, was that one of the reasons why you bought that, because you kind of wanted a warbird, and then you see that it had the safe system on it?
Yeah, because I was at a local hobby shop, and the one of the guys from the North Canton Flight Club was like, oh, you need to fly, the Apprentice. Apprentice is the best plane, and then Scott had gotten the Delta Ray.
Yeah, right.
And I flew the Delta Ray, but you kind of saw how it was limited.
Yes.
Just in terms of speed.
Sure.
I was like, well, this is, it flies so well, it's almost too easy.
Right. And then you're limited with the wind. Yeah, right.
So then I was like, well, I'm going to, as soon as I'm trying to go through my decision process, that Corsair comes out. And then the one day I went in there and they had one, and I was like, I just did it.
Yeah.
I just had to pull the trigger on that thing. So.
And what was your initial experience with it? Obviously, I'm sure you were nervous.
Scared the daylights out of me trying to fly that thing around because it was so fast. And that's really how I crashed it. The really bad crash I had was tip stalling it. It was one more go around to try and get a little lower.
Oh, yeah.
Over the baseball field.
Yep.
And safe does not work when you're at stall.
Yeah, that's true.
Tip stall, it just kind of.
So honestly, really, like something like that, it's your second airplane. Get a full-on trainer.
Yep.
Get your orientation down, maybe some landings, where you feel comfortable with a trainer. The next step would be like that kind of airplane.
Yeah, it's definitely not a first.
No, I agree.
I burned a lot of sim time to try and get to that point, and that did help a lot. And I think it definitely helps on landings and trying, especially if you're landing coming towards you. 'Cause if you try to do that without the sim,
Yeah.
Although you do have safe mode you could pop it into, and it would kind of basically land itself.
Sure. I was going to ask you if you tried that. Now, I've done it with all the other ones, especially like the Sport Cub S. And you bring that thing around, pull the power down, push the button, and just let it go. Have you tried it yet?
I did.
Yeah, and it worked.
I couldn't just let it go.
Oh, you couldn't?
Because I'm just too much of a control freak to do that. So I did play with the elevator a little bit to kind of get to come in, but
worked good.
Yeah, stabilizes great.
Wow.
I mean, in terms of the side to side,
Uh-huh.
but then I got to the point I did that, 2 or 3 times. I'm like, well, I'm not really helping myself get better. So
Yeah. I used to do that with the Delta Ray a lot because there for a while I used to just take it with me all the time. If I bump into somebody out the field, I'd be like, hey, you want to learn how to fly? Or if they'd inquire about it, and that was one of the great things that blew them away is, first I'd take off, I'd hit the throttle, hold the button, and look somewhere else, and they'd watch it just take off on their own. Then I'd fly it around, and I'd hand them the transmitter and blah, blah, blah. And I said, now here's the cool, because they always ask, okay, how do I land it? That's one of the first things, like, how do I get this thing down? I said, it's easy. You just push the throttle. I'd hold the button down. I'd put the transmitter behind my back, one hand, and they'd just watch this thing come in and glide and just land. And they're like, that's crazy. That's just insane. I'm like, okay, now you try it, So yeah, I think Horizon's got a hit on their hands with that.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend for anybody's first plane.
Yeah.
Just fly that's not out of that Delta Ray.
Right.
Get really comfortable with that.
Yep.
Yeah, the Delta Ray is awesome. But Pat, on your F4U, are you running a 2200 or sticking with the stock 18?
I have bought a couple additional 2200s, and I just usually start out with the 18 and just kind of knock the rust off and fly that one the first time, and then I go with the 22s after that.
So the 22s do fit, because that was one question I had about that airplane. Okay, good.
It actually fits better.
Yeah, right. I was going to say,
Like, it's easier for me to snug that in there. With 18, I really have to play around with the...
Yeah.
And a little extra nose weight is not going to hurt that plane.
No.
Yeah. All the Park Zone planes back in the day, whether it was the old Corsair or the T-28, or I'm trying to think, like the brushless P-51, actually, believe it or not, came with a 1300. But let me tell you, if you have one of those and it's stock, like stock motor, stock prop, and you put that 1300, because my other buddy Pat used to fly with 1300s all the time, that thing would slow down to a walking pace.
Oh, okay.
Because it was just so light. And then, of course, you seen mine. It's got the huge hopped-up motor on it, big giant prop with a 2200. It's definitely a little heavier and faster to get it to come in. But stock out of the box with that 1300, it was unbelievable how slow that thing would go.
Would that get a flight time of? I mean, could you get 5 or 6 minutes?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because with the it's got a 480 motor, but with that cheap, flimsy stock prop, it wasn't too much there. But if you just want to cruise around, do scale flying, that was the best thing with that little 1300 battery in it. It was unreal.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Cause you can slow it down, like you
said. Yeah. Anything else we had? I'm trying to think.
Well, you popped up the Phantom at the end.
Oh, that's right. And then we're going to talk about that.
So I you straightened out.
Yeah, I did. You want to hear? Should I talk about my Phantom? Oh man. All right. Nobody listens to this, right, Andre? So I'm probably okay to talk about this.
No one listens to this podcast ever.
Okay, good. Because I'm throwing myself under the bus and. Okay. Man, I don't know I'm getting nervous already just thinking about this. So, I know how you feel, Andre. I really do. Okay. Obviously the weather has been really crappy around here, and obviously I guess it's been over a month ago. We had some unusually warm weather. I think it was up into the 60s, and we got up. I don't know. I generally get up early every morning, but I got up at like 5 o'clock or something, and it was so foggy outside, like you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. Like we couldn't even see or mail nothing. And the wife happened to get up, and she's like, "Well, let's get the kids up. Let's just go to breakfast." Okay, so we got up, went to Waffle House, and we were talking about the weather and everything. So when we were waiting, I happened to pop up my phone, and it was checking everything out, seeing if it was going to, because actually we knew it was going to be nice. And I talked to Wayne earlier, and I'm like, you know what, it's going to be beautiful, whatever. Maybe I'll just come down, we'll fly for a while. Be perfect, 60 degrees, no wind. We'll get together and fly. So I was checking the weather, trying to figure out when this stuff was going to burn off and everything. But what I happened to notice, dummy me, it said that the tops of the fog was anywhere between 200 and 400 feet. And I'm like, the ball started rolling a little bit in the restaurant. I'm like, told my wife, I said, boy, if I could just get above that fog and go cruise around and just check it out and do some filming, that would look phenomenal. Maybe even find a sucker hole or something somewhere and get above it. So, yeah, she just rolls her eyes at me. So we're done with breakfast, and I go home. Now, here's the very important thing. And again, I seen it, and it just went right over the top of my head. That night and through the morning, I think they had it till 11 or noon, there was a freezing fog advisory. And I seen it. I just went right over my head. So we get home, and I was, at this point, kind of getting all excited. So I got the Phantom out. Okay, now, back up one more thing. Here's another thing, good point, that the night before, I did a firmware update to like 1.5. Okay, keep that in mind. I didn't think about that. So I do this firmware update. I haven't flown it since. So get home, batteries are all charged, I'm ready to go. I step outside, the fog out hasn't lifted whatsoever. So I step outside, get everything fired up, everything looks good, and I take off in my driveway. And again, I'm around my neighborhood, I'm very familiar. Again, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I'm very familiar with everything. So I thought, okay, we're just going to fly a little IFR here for a little bit and get above this fog. So I take off, and about 75 feet-ish, it just disappears. I mean, gone. No lights. I could hear it, obviously, but there was nothing. I'm like, okay. So I'm watching my screen. I get up about 100, nothing. I get up to 200, nothing. Okay, at this point, I'm like, okay, so what? The obvious choice probably would be just to come back down and land. But, you're not going to do that. So I bump it up to 400. Nothing. I mean, on the screen, it was just white. Nothing. So at that point, I was like, all right, I probably ought to just come back. So, no, I decided to just maybe, I may or may have not went up a little bit more. And nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. So at that point, I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm coming home. I had my fill for the day. I'm already nervous and shaking everything. So as the quad was coming down, I could hear it. It was very unusual. It was kind of making that like something was wrong, but I couldn't see it. So I'm like, all I want to do is get this thing down on the ground. So as I'm coming down, roughly, 175 feet, I started to see the lights. And I'm coming down. I'm full down coming. And the thing doesn't really descend really that fast. Not like it just, kind of falls out of the sky. So I see the lights and I see the quad. Man, this thing just starting to, it was like all over the place, trying to fight and hold position. And I was like, oh, crap. So I'm coming down. And, at that point, it happened so fast, and hindsight's 20/20. But like, what should I have done? Should I have went to in the man? At that point, you're not really sure why it's doing it. So should I have went into manual mode? Was it a control issue? Was it a motor? I didn't know. All I wanted to do is get it on the ground. So as it's coming down, I almost wanted to try to just go over and grab it, but I knew that would probably be really stupid. No. But that was my thought, Andre. That was my thought. So when I was coming down, I was probably about 5 feet off the ground. It was really starting to oscillate. Mm-hmm. And it finally kind of rolled up a little bit on its side as it was coming down. Not like roll over, but it finally come down, hit the driveway, caught the props. All I seen was props flying everywhere, and then it actually flipped completely upside down on the top. Now, the good thing with the Phantom, I found out, if anybody, hopefully you don't have this problem, run into it, but when it's completely upside down, it actually just spins on the very tops of the props. So it doesn't really hurt anything else. But this thing was upside down, going crazy because it was trying to right itself back up. So I finally got over there, got a hold of the landing gear, flipped it right side up, and shut it off. Now, at this point, I'm freaking.
Yeah, your heart's probably.
Yes, I'm just sweating, shaking, like what just happened. As I flipped the quad over, I noticed this thing is completely saturated with water. Like, it looked like it just went through a rainstorm. So I run it inside. The props were gone. I mean, they were junk at this point. Took everything off, wiped everything down, checked everything. Everything looked fine. Camera looked good. Wiped everything. Took a hairdryer to it. After everything was dried out, just plugged it back in. To see everything looked good. Everything functioned good. I'm like, okay. So I decided, put some new props on there. I wanted to test it a little bit, but I didn't do it then. So I did pop it back up in the air briefly, and everything was fine. Everything looked good, but it had a little bit of a funky shutter to it, and I was like, well, that's kind of weird, but whatever. So after that, I think it was the next day. This happened on a Saturday. I think we flew on a Sunday, right?
I think so, yeah.
I brought it back out Sunday, and I was kind of excited. I wanted to get it up, maybe do some film. I really wanted to get some shots with your Corsair, with it. So we fired it up in the parking lot there, and the same thing. We got it, about 3 or 4 feet in the air, and this thing would just be like, it would vibrate, and then it would stop. Then it would
like a resonance that came.
It was really weird. I couldn't figure out, what it was. It didn't seem like it was a prop thing because it wasn't consistent.
Yeah.
It was like it would shake, and then it would stop, and it would shake, and then it would stop. So obviously I said, I'm done, and we'll just put it away for the day. So I got home, threw it away, didn't think about it a whole lot. Realized that, I did some updates on it, checked it all out, went out, tried it, same thing. It was just something was wrong. Tried to do a Google search at the time. Really couldn't find anything of the problems I was having with it. So I was kind of like, oh man, maybe I really did do some damage or something internal with the flight control, something, right? So a few days later, after now this update's been out for a few days, right? I kept watching the forums and reading on the forums. Well, the same issue kept kind of popping up here and there. Some of it was worse, some of it not as bad, some other issues. And one of the guys said, I downloaded the new firmware and was having all these issues, went back to 1.4, it's fine. I'm like, huh. So, hey, what's it going to hurt? So I went in, dropped it back down to 1.4, took it back out, popped it in the air, perfect.
Oh.
Nothing. So here, it was just a firmware issue.
Wow.
Some people had that problem, some people didn't. And a lot of people said they dropped it back down to 1.4, then went back to 1.5, and the issue was okay. Because they had like a radio update and a firmware update at once. And some people were saying if you did both of them at the same time, they were having some issues and blah, 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 whatever. So it's still at 1.4. They just come out with another update like 1.5.1 or whatever. So I'm going to probably update it, to the latest firmware and go try it again to see if we have any problems.
Oh, firmware.
So it was actually just a firmware problem. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Dude, I was just, that was driving me nuts,
Well, yeah, because you had said, we didn't know. It definitely seemed a little juddery, but you said this thing normally is solid.
Rock solid. Yeah. So going back to my initial problem of the oscillation and everything, what I'm thinking, and again, we'll talk a little bit, Jason Bash, who's a friend of mine, and I've met, just had his quadcopter ice up, and he had some pictures of all the ice on the props and everything, and I've seen pictures on the internet of it. It's kind of unusual. It doesn't happen very often, but when you're flying in freezing fog like that, and you get up to 200 or 400 feet where the temperature probably drops down. I want to say it's every 3 degrees for so many. I can't remember what the thing is for so many feet. I don't know if it's 1,000 feet or whatever.
Yeah, that was 3 degrees Celsius per 1,000.
Per 1,000 feet. Yeah, pretty sure that's what it is.
And we were right at. I know we had gone out later that morning, and it was 32.
Yeah.
And you were out earlier than us.
I was out earlier. I think we were right around 30 degrees or so. So
the conditions were.
I'm guessing that thing got up, a little ways, couple hundred feet, and those props started to ice up. And then it's throwing that thing out of whack and out of balance, and that thing was fighting everything it could to try to hold it. That was my guess. Later, I talked to, of course, Andre. I talked to you. I talked to Wayne for quite a while about it, and I think with everything what happened and discussed, I'm pretty sure that's that's what happened, is that thing iced up. Obviously, by the time it come down, flipped upside down, was running 900 miles an hour upside down, there was no ice on it. And even when I, flipped it back, like I didn't really notice any ice on the car. It was mostly just water and wet. But I think at altitude with those props spinning, it iced up. That's what happened. So I was very, very, I was very lucky, at that time. Again, lesson learned. Something I shouldn't have done to begin with. I probably know better. But, it's just one of them things, What are you going to do? So that was my Phantom ordeal.
Yeah.
It was scary, really scary.
Well, at least it's just firmware.
Yeah, with that a problem. Yeah, right.
Although I guess that's a different concern.
Yeah. Well,
next time you do firmware, you'll have to test it out.
Yeah, and that seems to be kind of one of the only downfalls I've been reading with the Phantom is you never know. Like some people load it and they have little issues or whatever. It just
that's crazy.
Yeah, it just depends. It's basically a computer. Inside.
Yeah.
So some people have some problems, some people don't. It is what it is. So and so far, that's the only kind of problems I've had with it at all so far. So other than that, it's been rock solid whatsoever. I did just hear I can't remember. I have to look at the new firmware. I did heard a rumor or read somewhere though that they got the geofencing. The new update is out for the Phantom. So I'll have to see how that's going to work with this.
Oh, I did read that.
Yeah. So, all right, Andre, that was my debacle here. Did you want to talk a little bit about the Pawnee and the Tundra? Because I think you got a flight. Okay.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I'm just teasing. No, actually, I finally got out before the snow arrived. I got out with the Pawnee, and I pushed that thing to its limit. And I have to it flies all right. I mean, for an airplane with AS3X, it flies okay. It cuts and banks and does all the stuff, but the landings just crack me up. I can't, for the life of me, flaps on, flaps off, or anything. I can't get that thing to come in short and hot and stop.
Huh.
It just wants these nice, smooth final approaches, and I've got video that I've got to finish editing and put together, and you come in and it's it's a white tiny airplane, and you're looking at it in the gray sky, and you're like, okay, coming in nice and smooth, and you touch down, and it just keeps going down the field, and I'm like, really? You're like, stop.
Oh, wow.
It is just a really floaty airplane.
Huh.
And it wants to be driven in, but it's kind of, it just, like nothing like the Fun Cub or anything like that, where you just come in and kind of pop it in and stop, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is if you come in a little high and you kind of want to dive down, well, the thing picks up so much extra speed that it just carries on through on final and landing. It just keeps, so it just would roll on down the field, and I'm like, just, and I don't want to dump it hard or anything like that either. I'm trying to bring it nice and smooth, but for the life of me, I just can't shortstop it, and just turn and drop it, kind of thing. What you would do with even like the T-28 or something,
Right.
And so I'm chuckling away the entire time, and I'm like, okay, I really got to work on this and see if I can improve its functionality. But otherwise, it's a good plane. I've just picked up a set of Durafly skis that they use on, say, like the Fun Cub. Sorry, not the Fun Cub, the Sky Mule. And I'm going to modify the mounts, probably get something 3D printed, and see if I can get those to be mounted on the airplane, and then we'll have some kind of functionality so I can go in there and land and have some fun with that on the snow, because this was one of the objectives of this airplane, was to be a winter flyer.
Yeah, right. Now, I know initially you were I wouldn't say frustrated with the Pawnee, but it was just different, and you were trying to get adjusted to it. Has it gotten better?
Oh yeah, like I really opened up the taps and was really flying it pretty hard, cutting through the corners. Once in a while I would notice the AS3X was doing something silly with me, but I think I've settled on like middle rates flying that airplane, and it seems to suit me. And then I was just goofing around. I'm going to continue to tune the flaps, and particularly the elevator, because the plane just balloons even without the flaps. It will just balloon, so it's just something you have to be aware of when you're flying it. And other people have gone to events and they've watched it fly, and they've said the exact same thing, where people are trying to land it at the field, and it's taking up way more space than you would ever think for a plane of that size, just because it comes in. It just floats on through. So I'm probably just going to get used to landing it pretty quickly, as far as, at the beginning of the strip kind of thing, and just let it float on and see if it carries on through. And it will be interesting on the skis. It will be interesting to see. I'm almost wondering if it's going to have problems in that it might need a little bit more length to take off as well, based on the lower wing and everything. But I'll play with that. I haven't swapped the prop yet, but eventually I suspect I'll get rid of the 3-blade and go to a 2-blade just to pick up the efficiency.
Question for you, because I know can't think right off the top of my head some of the problems I had, or which planes it were, the same problem where they'd really balloon, and you probably already have done this, but I'll ask anyway. Have you put your flaps on like a delayed timer?
Oh, yeah. Most of them are on 2 seconds, and I'm almost... but this seems to be, when it balloons up, it almost, maybe I've got the elevator... Maybe I'm not giving it enough...
down elevator?
Down elevator. Maybe I need to give it a little bit more to counter and change the timing on the flaps go down for 2 seconds, and the elevator is going to maybe work that on out, and we'll... as I get used to it and fly, because most times I'm sitting there, I don't even like messing with my trims when I'm flying.
Right. Yeah. That was my next question, is if you had again, I'm lazy and I put in the mix of, the down elevator, different percentage with what notch of flaps you're using.
Yeah, and this plane definitely likes a little bit more coordinated turning, so it is kind of interesting, because it's like this blend of all these airplanes I've flown, right? It doesn't fly like the Fun Cub, but it's got the speed of, say, like the T-28 and everything. And it's funny, because I built this thing up in my mind. This airplane was supposed to handle, have the grace and functionality of the Fun Cub, like I said before, and have the flexibility that we see when we fly things like the Sukhoi. But to me now, it feels a lot more like it's got the similar cut when it flies. And I haven't even tried a knife edge with it, but I bet it would knife edge pretty decently whilst the AS3X is in there, right? So maybe this is closer to I bet if you were to fly it beside like a T-28 with flaps and stuff like this, it might handle pretty similar now.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was just wanting to know the comparison between that and like the T-28, what the difference is.
I think, because I was, when I started flying it, I put the bigger wheels on it, so I wasn't even on the main strip. I was in the field, and so I'd pull off. I'd lift off, I'd cut the flaps up right away, and then I'd turn hard. And it was just like, yeah, this is what I was thinking. This reminds me a lot of my T-28, which I haven't even flown a lot this season because I've been flying with so many other airplanes. But those big wheels, by the way, those are 4-inch wheels, I believe.
Wow,
yeah.
4-inch?
Oh yeah, 4-inch. Oh yeah, and it's perfect. It is perfect. Well, they're super lightweight ones that I picked up, and actually I've got one in my hand, and all I had to do was put some shrink wrap into the hole to cover over the sleeve, just to take up a little bit of the slack. But they're pretty lightweight, and compared to the old ones, they look like monster trucks on the thing. But man, it allowed it to come in and land on the field, especially with that 3-blade prop.
Right.
On the nose and everything, so I have had no issues with it. It hasn't nosed over on landing or anything like that. I do have to hold down elevator on takeoff just to get the speed up, and then eventually it just kind of hops in the air.
Sure.
Kind of a lazy takeoff, I find. So.
That's good, because I was really wondering, how close to like the T-28 it was going to be with the low wing and same size motor and everything like that. It's kind of, I would think, kind of comparable, to the T-28. So.
Yeah. My big thing is for what the airplane cost. For me, I felt it should have performed a little better, but it is what it is. And I'm going to continue to fly it. It's there, it's ready to go. And, it was, I'd really hoped I was so close to getting the P40 out, but then once the snow hit, I knew I was done. So the P40 will wait. So this plane has definitely got a lot of, you'll get some good runtime. And if it flies well with the skis, then I'm perfect, because I can basically put in one of the larger planes in the trunk, like the Sky Mule or the Tundra. And then I've got the, I picked up for Christmas as well, the Hobby King Skipper.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what a fun airplane. That is just a goofy plane. So I made in that one the other day, and because I couldn't get everything in the car, and there was too much snow on the ground to bring out the Pawnee. But like I said, once I get the skis on the Pawnee, it might be pretty good to go. But the Skipper, actually, I discovered I fly that thing on high rates, so 100% with like 30% expo, and it's like a sports car. I don't know if you've ever flown one, Chris.
No,
Oh, it will do axi rules like up there with like the EFX Racer.
Really?
Oh yeah, I think it will just spiral along. It's a hoot. So I took off and I was in low rates. So I'm like, I need more elevator authority. So I put her in the middle rates. I'm like, oh, this is not bad. All right, let's go high rates and see what this thing does. You really got to keep your eye on it because it does get a little bit of a slim, narrow profile in some of the turns. But I painted the underbelly yellow and put some reinforced duct tape on it. And I love flying that plane. I got my dad one for Christmas last year, and I really wanted one for myself. So it finally showed up this year. But and they spec out like a 1500. I fly a 22 in it, and it's just fun.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then I flew that plane, that mystery plane called the Tundra. Well, it's not really much of a mystery, but Hobby King put out a YouTube update earlier in the week and basically said it is on the boat, so you'll see it in the regional warehouses the next 4 to 6 weeks kind of thing.
Sweet. So I'm sure everybody's kind of dying to hear the initial flight reports, including me.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Oh, man. Out of the box, this thing flew so cleanly, so smoothly. I was listening to my audio feedback in the videos because I'll produce some videos and publish those once the aircraft goes live on the store kind of thing. But I was like just sitting there and I'm gobsmacked the entire time going, wow, this out of the box, no trimming, no nothing, and it just flew. And I was in low rates, I had plenty of power, I had plenty of vertical ability with it, and it would come by and I was doing low level flybys with my camera set up and everything, flying between two cameras on the ground and one on a tripod, and it was stable as anything. Again, I've got a tune. I found when I came off the flaps, it would nose down a bit, so I've got to tune my elevator settings just a little bit more to give me a little bit more control there so it doesn't dip as much. But I almost didn't need the flaps to come in.
I'm sure.
It was just, and I was using the skis because I had a second set of Sky Mule skis, so I popped those on right away and came back with one or two little recommendations to Stuart because they put a sleeve in to take up the space on the shaft between for the hole for the ski. And I came back after I landed a few times. I noticed the sleeves had moved, so I said, I'll just tell everybody to use those the wheel collars. Mm-hmm. Stick those onto the shaft, and they'll keep everything in place so the skis don't move or they don't slide off their mounting points and everything. So that worked out really well. I haven't tried the floats. I'm actually looking at them right now because I think I was so impressed with the ski setup, and I used my A-spec batteries right in the nose, and it was balanced and just handled so nicely. I was, like I said, I'm blown away. I think if you're looking for an airplane of that class, high wing, sporty, functional, I think they're going to do really well with this airplane.
Do the floats have a steerable rudder?
They do.
Oh, nice. That is a big thing with a plane.
You take off the landing gear, then you've got this basically a shaft with the rudder there. So I was like, that would be neat in the snow, but I got a feeling that would just get caught up. I know Wayne says he flies his Beaver with the skis. Yeah. With the floats. I just don't think I could get the thing into the car with the floats on.
Oh yeah.
Because it would sit up a good, I'd say almost 12 inches, or so, on the skis. So that would get really hard because I can't fit in the back of the car. I used to be able to get the Fun Cub in there, but with the wing struts on the Tundra, I don't think I could fit it into the back seat of the car in between. Like, I basically would wedge one wing between I'd have to actually take the headrest off the drop back seats, and push the car seats forward a little bit. So, which is unfortunate because it would have been fun to be able to get things like the Sky Mule, the Tundra, and the Skipper out all at one time. Like you're just going all crazy with your snow planes. So, so I'll be alternating. But like I said, I think they've come out with a really nice, sharp airplane. and it looked fantastic flying through the air. The colors and everything. I had no visibility. We were dealing with a low cloud cover, so I wasn't going very high with it, and it would just come over the deck, and we were just doing low passes and just having a riot with it. But everybody at the field was watching because obviously it's a new plane on the block, and right off the get-go, the thing just took off and flew great and handled the snow really nicely.
All right, now a couple of my questions that I have. One thing I like about the Fun Cub is the wing and the way it comes apart and everything was very simple, and it broke down very easy if you had to get it into a car. And then what I did with the Fun Cub is I just hot glued my servo connections right at that top hole and then color coded them, so it was very easy and very quick to get it together. So with the Fun Cub, obviously it's got the struts too, so how complicated or easy is it to get those wings on and off together, the connections and the wing struts?
Well, my Fun Cub doesn't have wing struts. I've just got these spars, right?
Yeah, that's why I was saying the Fun Cub is very easy for me, and that's why I wanted to compare a little bit, breaking it down to get it into a car or something. How easy is how easy is the Tundra compared to the Fun Cub, how the wing breaks down, because you have the struts on the Tundra?
You just have to pull the 4 screws, or at least two out of the 4, but I can fit the Tundra into the the trunk of my car.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You drop the seat and you get one wing through kind of thing, but it will fit back there pretty nicely. So I haven't had to break it down. Now, what they have, and it's pretty slick, is the ailerons and the flaps are there's a little board that they slide into.
Okay.
So there is no servo wires per se.
Oh, okay,
so
gotcha.
It's got a connection point, and that is pretty cool. So yeah, you would have to unscrew the struts and everything and slide everything off, and there are 4 screws on the top, and they recommend actually running a little bit of tape over that too to make sure everything's nice and solid if you're flying aggressively, and I tend to fly aggressively. So if something like if this plane was to come with me to Flight Fest, I'd have to take it apart, so
right.
I would be cutting it down. So it's not something you're going to want to take apart too often.
That was my question.
Pretty tiny.
Yeah.
And I've only taken the wing off my Fun Cub for trips like to Flight Fest. That's the only times I've done it. Otherwise, I leave them assembled, because it's just I don't want to beat up the hardware and I don't want to impact the foam.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
So it would be a little bit more work. Compared to the FC, the front end and the Tundra, there's tons of room. There is a huge amount of space, and it doesn't really look like a Fun Cub. It's not a Cub per se. It's more like a Cessna look to it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, but those wing struts really make those wings stay up. It looks like it's got a little bit more dihedral as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but it was super stable.
Okay, so the other question is, I guess I don't have anything to really compare to, but kind of like the Fun Cub, because it is kind of built, looks sort of kind of like, and I think the flying characteristics are supposed to be geared towards a Fun Cub. But what about the flaps? It's got them big, full 90-degree flaps. So does it fly like the Fun Cub? When you drop, on the Fun Cub, you could drop them flaps all the way down, and literally, if you had a 5-mile-an-hour wind, it would go backwards. It's literally that slow.
That is what I loved about my Fun, especially in the winter, because I would just get there and the thing would just basically stationary in the air. So I am expecting the same, and if I felt that the function, the flaps, actually the deflection, everything was on par, if not better, because I can almost get those things vertical.
Wow.
So they are almost air brake quality kind of thing.
Right.
So
that's what I like.
I had no wind that day, so obviously when I push them on and everything, I wasn't really. I was having to run it at a higher speed, obviously, to keep the airspeed up. But on a really good windy day, I think today's looking a little aggressive, so tomorrow will probably be perfect time to get it out and test it. So
awesome. So the only other thing I was going to ask you, again, I guess because I have a Fun Cub, so I'm trying to compare. With the Fun Cub, you get a pretty aggressive motor. It'll do almost anything. If you want to do a little 3D with it, or hovering, or knife edge, or loops, whatever. So I was kind of wondering, in stock form, the Tundra, is it kind of this? Is it seem to be a very versatile? If you want to fly fast and get crazy and do whatever with it, and then you can also slow it down to fly around at a snail's pace and do touch and goes and crazy stuff like that.
I think so. It's a 900 kV motor, and it swings a really nice. What is that? It is a 12x6 carbon fiber prop, and it's pretty tough because I clipped a camera with it.
I seen that.
It was fun. But I put it up vertical, and that was with the 3S. I guess after that point, it's about the battery pack. I bet this plane would take a 4S and handle it, but existing specs, it is spec'd out for a 3S battery, so that's what I was flying it on. And I put it up, and I went into the higher clouds, and was just, didn't want to lose it because it was, like I said, the cloud cover was pretty low, but I was hovering off. I was doing a prop hover with it and everything. I'm like, okay, good. Nice. But I didn't even get it out of. I flew the thing initially in low rates just because I was getting used to it. But it was so well mannered and it was so relaxing. And we coming down, and I was doing touch and goes off the snow and everything. And I had complete confidence in the aircraft, that I could pull up and turn, and if anything dipped or anything like this, if you hit a little rut in the snow, so. I think people are going to be very satisfied with this airplane. It's it's probably going to be a good alternative. Things I noticed about it, it does have a plastic cowl, and so I'm expecting that I'm going to break that very easily. I wonder why, but I mean, I bounced the Fun Cub off the deck, a few times when I was having some CG issues, and the most I've done recently was I did a little impact on the motor, so I've got to change the bearings. But that's the same motor that I crashed at Flight Fest there in 2014, right?
Right.
So that motor's been due for a bearing job, but the point is that aircraft with the Fun Cub, you've got the whole front end is foam, so it absorbs a lot of shock, and even after a lot of banging around, it still looks great. So
right.
So this one, that would be my only issue with it. Really, would be the front end of it. But man, it also came together really quick, and they do a couple nice things where they add it to the kit. Now they've got on the back end of it, they've got some bracing and everything for the rear stabilizers and everything. So it's looking. Yeah, I think a lot of people, if they're looking for this kind of aircraft, are going to be very impressed. And like I said, it comes with the floats. The skis are like $8, and you're off to the races.
Oh, that sounds sweet. I love it. Awesome. Anything else? Anybody got anything? You got anything else, Pat? You want to mention?
What's the wingspan on the?
1300 millimeters.
Gotcha.
So it's just a tiny bit shorter than a Fun Cub wing, and that's just because the Fun Cub wing has got those half circles kind of thing. So the older style looking wings. So this thing has got more of a sport. It's very clean lines, very very nice, and very light aircraft actually as well.
Interesting. Awesome. All right. I think that was all you had, right, Andre?
That's
okay.
Pretty well it. Basically prepping the fleet, so like all my winter planes are cut over to skis because we're not losing this batch of snow.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like anytime soon. I'm sure we have some coming, so the Beaver is ready to go.
Excellent.
That's one thing I'm a little nervous about now that I had the Phantom out and had it, got it wet and everything. Is I'd love to. We do get a snowstorm or something. Obviously we always take the Beavers out because they got the lights on them and they fly good in the weather. Is film a little bit of that. Flying the Beavers in a snowstorm or something. So I might have to get online, do a little research or something. And I'm still a little too nervous to pop the top of it and just hose it down with was it Corrosion X right to make it waterproof. I don't know how much the camera would take, snow wise or whatever. Now it does have some like holes or vents on the top that you could put some duct tape or something over probably to keep the snow out of it. But I don't know, I was a little nervous of taking it out in the snow. Maybe we'll just have to build some kind of waterproof quad or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. All right, just a few things before we wrap this thing up. One is just so you guys know, it is a new year. We got some new things coming. And also, I've mentioned it before, but David Vindenstol will definitely be on the podcast a lot more. We have the Tech Talk with David, so we're always taking questions. You can email me questions for him, or there's also a thread on the Flight Test forums. Pop in there. I'm always usually on there checking them and writing them down. So once we get another big list, David will come back on. We'll do the tech questions. But also, we're just going to have him on in general just for fun. I don't know what it is. We all love David. He's our favorite crazy Swede. But every time we have him on, our numbers just like go through the roof. People love him, so we're definitely going to have him on more and get him more involved. He actually wants to be more involved with the podcast, so I'm excited about that. And so we're going to have him on more. The other thing I've been thinking, and Andre, actually I haven't even mentioned this to you. I don't know if we're going to do it. I'd like a little feedback from the community. Now, obviously, when we first kind of started getting the podcast going, we were tinkering around with the Blog Talk Radio. Had a couple successes with it, but we also had some major failures with it. But I do have some new equipment and a better laptop and everything, so it's kind of my ultimate goal. I still have the account and everything, is every now and then, and maybe possibly we could do something like a Friday night, or possibly maybe occasionally a Saturday night, later in the evening, where we could get more people on this, at the better time zone or something, to just go on, and maybe we'll have a subject where I still like to get the community involved, and maybe get some phone calls and talk to the people out there. When we did have it work, and we did it a few times, I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of work. I might even have to try to maybe find a producer or something that would come in and help me just with the phone calls or something, but that's fun. I really enjoyed that. It's in the back of my mind. I've been thinking about every now and then maybe doing something like that. So if you guys out there, if you enjoyed that, let me know. I still have the account, and it is possible we could do that every now and then, just hanging out, chatting, having a subject, and taking phone calls and talking to everybody about it. I thought that was really fun. And the cool thing was, we were talking with people all over the world, and I enjoyed that. That was interesting to me. So something to think about. We can do that. We have the capability. I think we can try.
We have the technology.
Yeah, we have the technology. Again, the forums. Get on. Actually, I finally caught up. I was on there last night checking things out. But if you have any questions, any problems, any concerns, any subjects, I love when you guys email me or get on the forums and have some subjects for us, because I like to hear what you guys want to know. Crash stories, we will get to those. I have quite the big list, so sometime soon. We got a few podcasts in the works, things I'm working on, but here probably maybe this month, or if not for sure the beginning of next month, we'll get David on too, and we'll get through some of the crash stories. Any questions or anything, again, hit me up at email, chris@flighttest.com. Andre's been doing a good job. If you want to send him an email, it's andre@flighttest.com. Mm-hmm. Last but not least, as you guys know, I love the Periscopers. I'm getting quite the big following, and it seems to be you guys have really enjoyed the live Periscope when we have been doing the podcast. Today we didn't do that. We're doing a little testing. I know things aren't perfect. We are doing the live stream on YouTube. So just so you know, we're slowly probably going to be switching over to the live stream. So if you guys could, just pop on there and subscribe to the FT After Hours, and we'll get an alert whenever. Lately, we've been doing this mostly on Saturday mornings, so if you want to come hang out, that's great. The chat, just if you agree, Andre, looking at the chat, it's 100% better than it was with the Periscope. We can actually scroll back, which is fantastic. So I think in the long run, it's going to work out a lot better. And plus, it's going to be on YouTube. So, the Periscope thing, after 24 hours, it was gone. And then a lot of times we'd be like, oh, man, I wanted to watch the podcast, and I wasn't home, or I was busy, and it's gone. And so with the YouTube thing, it's on there. You can go back and watch it. And I think what we'll do is we'll just keep the Periscope for I'm trying to incorporate. I want to keep the Periscopers happy too, so I'm going to try to, when we're out flying or we're doing things, or maybe something we're not supposed to be doing, I don't know. Is just get the Periscope, out there, and maybe every now and then we'll Periscope a podcast. My big concern, and Andre, you mentioned too, is trying to do a live stream and the Periscope, and everything else we're doing here is sucking up too much through the Wi-Fi. So. But I think that's about it. Andre, did you have anything else before we get out of here?
No, just it was really nice to actually, to see some of the ongoing conversation, and there was a few requests to have my video pop up, and I said, no, our primary concern when we're recording this is to get the best audio quality for the podcast. The video and the live stream is just the bonus, and we get to have some fun and interact with the viewers.
Yeah, I agree. And today basically was just a test. So I know we got little audio issues that we'll work on, which I think is pretty simple. We'll figure that out. So let me know what you think. We're going to keep doing this for sure. Absolutely. And we'll go from there. So other than that, thank you for joining us. Happy New Year. Pat, thanks for coming down and hanging out.
I appreciate it. Thank you. This is great.
You and Scott are more than welcome. Anytime you want to just come
awesome.
out.
Sure.
Hopefully we'll be flying here soon, get together, and then it's always
fingers crossed.
It's always good to get back in here and talk about our flying and what crashes we did and the dumb things we do and everything like that. So
Absolutely. Yep.
all right, thank you everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back here shortly. I got some stuff in the works, and let's see. I'll try to get this out today or later this evening so you guys can listen to it on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever, however you do it. So I'll get my butt out of here and get to work on it, and we'll talk to everybody soon.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thanks guys. Stop that. Stop this. There we go.